Hello, all you social media suicide warriors. Dan Pelly here, inspirational speaker, suicide warrior. The topic of this video is my two suicide attempts, one in 1996 and 2010. And I'm not proud of either time. And if I knew what I know now, I would have started my recovery process a lot quicker in 1996. And even though I learned some things in 2010, what I've learned today is what you need to do is ask for help a lot sooner. Because in 1996, when I got divorced, I lost the business, had to sell the house, moved to Florida, went from real estate to detailing cars with a very supportive brother and family, and started suffering depression. It's mild for the first time in my life, and it built up day after day. The depression got worse. And for about 8 months in 1996, I was heavily thinking about suicide, and suicide ideation was rampant, and I was obsessing, and it's all I was thinking about is to not live anymore because of the pain I was dealing with. We all have our experiences on what pain we deal with. We deal with all sorts of pain. Mine is my pain, yours is your pain. That doesn't mean that we do something irrational and we have a permanent solution to temporary problems, because I wouldn't be where I am today and I would have missed out on a whole lot of life, and I'm so lucky that I survived. But getting to that moment, which I call the moment, is very horrific, and it's a very difficult place to be, and it's just suffering and has nothing to do about being strong and as a man pull yourself up by the bootstrap, be tough. Nothing to do with that. It weakens you, it depletes you, and if anybody's triggered by these experiences I'm going to give, I want you to stop watching. And of course, if you're suicidal to a point where you're going to want to take your life, you need to call 911. You need to reach out to somebody close to you and tell them that you need help. Anyway, when I made this move, day after day, I was so inundated with the suicide ideation. This depression then turned to clinical, and that's where it really gets dangerous. I did try to get on some medication at the time for the first time, and it takes time, about 8 weeks, for things to really kick in to help you. And, all the things that happen with your chemicals and all these things are happening. Um, and we have to start looking about what are we going to do to recover. So instead of just thinking about for months, all that time I was thinking about suicide ideation was occurring, I was never thinking of recovery. No matter how many people I talked to, how many inspirational people I talked to, therapists, it didn't matter. I was zoned in on not wanting to live anymore and driving up and down the highway, my brother's detail business, and thinking about where I was going to do this. Okay? And mine was a pill situation, Tylenol, and it was very horrific. It was scary. I felt ashamed. I was just disgusted about everything that I was doing with my life, and had to make changes. Whether it's don't be drinking while you're doing medication, don't be doing any drugs, eating and sleeping properly. None of that was in my repertoire. It was just work and go home and suffer, work and go home and suffer, work and suffer at work and go home and suffer some more, and obsessing and lamenting about my life and begrudging everything that went on and the loss that occurred. And I never suffered any depression in my life at all, and I never even thought about suicide. But this built up over 8 months, and the excruciating pain I was in, and it was mentally and physically debilitating on my body. And I just had my head down all the time, and I couldn't even talk to people like I was in real estate. I didn't want to deal with people. I was just barely sitting at the dinner table with family with my head down. And of course, my family was very concerned for me. They knew this is not the Dan that we know. And then it all came to a horrific moment after it built up for so many months, and making the decision to go into a hotel, writing my notes. Now, if this is triggering you, you need to stop watching. Okay, I'm not a doctor or a therapist, but I know about suicide. And if you're triggered, you can't watch. If it's going to help you, I want you to get help from this video. Okay, so I'm in the hotel room, I wasn't like a very, spontaneous, I'm going to just take my life quickly. It just wasn't that way for me. And those are the people that are most difficult to help. But I was writing notes and sitting there for 6 hours crying and feeling ashamed and just all the stigma that goes against somebody when it comes to suicide, especially a male. And then I was putting my head down, and I finally, when that moment came, it was horrific. I was looking at the corner of the hotel room, going, "Is this where it's going to end? Dan, this is what you're going to do, and then you're going to leave people suffering too." And I want to mention that about leaving people suffering was never my intent. It is never anybody's intent that's suffering. They just want to end the pain. It's not to hurt another person. But I ingested, and it was horrific. And I thought I would be gone. And I woke up 6 hours later with a significant amount of Tylenol, actually 250 Tylenols I ingested, and I should have been gone. And I woke back up. I was all red and purple. My eyes were just green, red. Everything was just horrific. And I don't know how I found my way back to my brother's house, but when my sister-in-law saw me, she took me to the hospital. Doctors were upset at me, saying, "We're trying to save lives here, and you're trying to take yours." So they said, "You're gonna have to sign some paperwork here. We're gonna give you dialysis. This Tylenol thing, it happens over 48 hours. Your liver's gonna break down, and all this is gonna happen to you." And I'm signing papers, and I'm dying over and over. I never wanted to live so much in my life by signing so many papers that would take my life. And then it came to a point where all the doctors were coming in, the kidney doctor, the liver doctor, saying things don't look good for you, Dan. The chemicals are, you're going to accomplish what you want to accomplish. And the levels were just so high in my system. They said they're going to go up and down, and I'm letting the family know I might go. It was just excruciating. It was the worst feelings I've ever had in my life. And the shame and the guilt was going on, and 3 4 days in IC, and I was going up and down and so forth, and reaching out for any help I could get through the doctors and everything that was happening to me. And after 3 days, my chemical got stable, and things started stabilizing. And frankly, all the doctors couldn't believe it. They said, with the amount of Tylenol that you ingested and that's in your system, that we know that's in there, it's just unbelievably that your chemicals have leveled off and you're going to live and not have any complications. I swore I would never do that again. But you never can say never when it comes to depression, and when it comes to clinical depression, and when you're suffering and when you're sick. Nothing to be ashamed of. We get sick with all sorts of diseases, and depression is a disease. And I'm tired of the stigma about it's a chicken way out, and look at all the people you're leaving behind. You got to value your own life. Your life matters, right? It's not just about everybody else all the time. Of course, your loved ones, you don't want to leave anybody hurting. But the main thing is how you're going to recover. So my battle was just beginning. I got on more medication because I was still suicidal. Even after I left, there was still thoughts of it. And therapy, and it took almost a whole year of just working hard and seeing my therapist, and doing what I had to do, eating better, sleeping better, making a short list, because my list was very short. Believe me, I just wanted to put my head under the covers constantly, and then in the dark place that I was in, even after the situation at the ICU. So I started making a short list that I would get up and wash, I would eat, I would read, I would watch a little TV, I would take a walk, and I go back to bed and suffer some more. So this went on for a whole year. I started feeling better after time because I kept on this short list and I kept working, because you got to keep moving. My brother said, "You got to keep moving," when he said, "You got to come to work." And I was so grateful I had him in my life, and him being in my life. So at that time, especially, so a support system is important, to find someone that you can rely on and someone that's going to stand by you. Um, and that was of a whole year. I started feeling great again, back to life. I came back to Boston. Things were going great. I said, I'm going to go to school for the first time. I went to psychology course late. I was 41 years old. And I went to a psychologist course, and I was getting A's and B's for the first time in my life. I was just so proud of myself, what I was doing. And it was like, and other people were like, wow, you're really doing well in the psychology program, associate's degree. And I wrote a 33-page program, and at that time in 2000, 1999, and I said, I'm going to really go out and help people, and all these good things in my head about doing things, and this 33-page program that I wrote, and I was going to go out and conquer the world and try to save people. But of course, I met a new woman in my life, had 3 kids, raised some stepkids, beautiful kids, a girl and 2 boys. They were young, now older. So life took over, right? I was feeling good. I was going with it again. I opened up another real estate office. Things were going great. And, everything went really good. We bought a house and it was everything. And, my suicide program got put on the back burner. Plus, there was a lot of shame involved to come out here publicly and say you try to, commit suicide twice. So as time went on, I, was doing very well. But in 2007, my stepdaughter went in the wrong car with some teenagers, and she nearly got killed. And she took a traumatic brain injury, had to operate on her head, broken hip, lost some of her left peripheral vision. Just horrific on the family. It rocked us to the core. But we jumped into survival mode, and the mother was a captain to her, and the boys helped, and my whole family helped, and we got her back on her feet. She survived. We were so lucky that she survived. But she suffers with a TBI. She's not going to have, the career she would have, but she's a happy girl, and she's a wonderful human being. And I told her she has other missions. We went to, Mothers Against Drunk Driving. We did some speaking together about drunk driving, how she get in the wrong car with the wrong kids. She took the worst of it, but it just mortified the mother and me and the family. And once she got back on her feet in '09, I felt lost. We got her back going, and I felt like I'm not doing what I should be doing. And I got depressed again. And after it all said and done, I started sensing depression again coming on, and it came on fairly quick. And it got worse. I get into clinical depression, and things started really snowballing into clinical depression again, and I just felt worthless. I don't know why, because we championed her back, going to the hospital every day, 48 days in IC, 7 months of recovery. It was just the worst thing you could ever go through. Outside, I know there are other worse things in this world, but it was our worst thing. And but she's doing fairly well. But I got depressed again, and I started thinking about suicide again. And I couldn't believe I was back there. But the difference was when my wife walked in my office one day, I was crying, and she goes, "What's the matter?" And I knew I was in that clinical depression again, and it was dangerous. And I said, "I need help. You have to help me. You have to bring me to the hospital." I wasn't talking like this, fluid and just moving along in life. So they put me on the 5th floor, and they kept me under suicide watch, let me out a little prematurely. They were good people. They were trying to help. I know not all medical organizations do very well with suicide, but there are some good ones out there, and you got to keep trying for the best ones in your life. So when that came for 2010, I got back home, and pills again. It wasn't Tylenol. It was more painkillers. Sleep sleep medication. When I think about it all, the darkness that I was in, it just really just shakes me to the core. And I know what other people are going through when it's happening. To get to that moment, which I call the moment, is the most horrific, and hopefully no one ever gets to that moment. One person said, "I'm scared to do it." I tell them, "Stay scared." But anyway, everybody went out, and I ingested again, shamefully. And they brought me in, and they revived me, and pumped my stomach. And again, I was sick again, and I just couldn't believe it. And I started getting into Buddhism at the time, and I was just fighting all these devilish functions. And I knew I was in for a fight. And they said, "You got to stay determined, Dan. You got to keep fighting." All my Buddhist members. And I got back home, and I made a determination, like I did in 90, 6 that I would never do this again. But this determination now was about choosing life over death. Say, no matter what, I'm choosing life, and I'm not going to do this. And then my road to recovery was long. I was on medication more than I was before, heavily sedated, 3, 4, 5 meds, all through 10. But I made a determination. I chant as a Buddhist and said by December of 11, I'm going to be med free. So as 11 approached and everything was happening, I was really pushing along. But in the summer of 10, I went to a recovery program and was walking 10 flights of stairs because physically it depleted. And I did this in 2010, went into a recovery group and did what I had to do. And people, were worse off than me. And, excuse me one second. And people were worse off than me, but I'm climbing 3, 4 months. I'm doing these physicals, walking just because I was so weak. Because depression weakens you, and it weakens your mind, and weakens your body physically. And we're not in the right state of mind. We're psychotic, we're irrational. It's not rational to be killing yourself. And I'm an advocate to choose life now and not suicide, as you see on all my pages and so forth through social media. But anyway, come 11, I started, started moving off meds a little bit, slowly with the doctors, with the therapists. It took me a while to find the right doctors and the right therapists, but I went and, started talking to the doctors about going down to maybe 3 and then 2. So by the summer of 11, I was only on 2 meds. I changed from Zoloft to Wellbutrin, really helped me, the old school one. Things like that started helping me, staying on my short list, not putting myself under too much pressure either, because I was burning out from work before. And of course, what happened to my stepdaughter just really, it just put me over the edge, and I just felt like I wasn't doing what I was supposed to be doing. But I stayed the course, and by December of 2011, I was med free. Come 2012, I really started accelerating about choosing life. I didn't start these videos, and I know this one's going to be a little longer. I normally try to stay, within a 15-minute time frame, but I think this is important. I haven't addressed this since I started my videos in 16. This is how long it took me to get there. So 12 came. I ended up speaking at a big Buddhist men's conference in front of 150 men, how I recovered from medication, getting off medication, choosing life, eating, sleeping, and doing sleeping well, eating well, everything that I had to do. And the short list became a longer list. Got back to work, started doing well again, and everything was going good. So I was back at it again, 13, 14, 15, 16. And then I made a determination between my practice. I said, I got to do a video. I have to start helping people. I mean, look at the time frame from 96 to writing my program in 2000. I mean, if you think the medication is going to be a miracle cure for you, or something's going to be like, boom, you're just going to get better, it's going to take determination and you really valuing your life. You have to respect the dignity of your life first, no matter how much suffering we go through. So when that came up, I made my first video. Of course, rusty, because you're not making videos, you're not doing it. Although I was in real estate, it's still the shame was keeping me from doing it, and the being, you know, just ashamed, the guilt. But I pushed through in 16. I made my first video, and here I am now, 4.5 years later, inspiring other people to choose life. I'm not going to save everybody, but when I'm actively working with somebody that's wanting to commit suicide, and it's very tricky because a lot of people think, and even for me, that someone's looking for attention because they're lonely or something's going on, and they feel lonely, and they feel, if they say they're going to kill themselves, they'll get a lot of attention. But you just never know. So even for me, I waver. Like, are they for real, or are they just verbalizing it because they want attention? So I take the high road and say, no, they're sickly, they're in suicide ideation. I have to keep inspiring, not I'll talk to you some other time, or don't talk to them, or family members push people away. And then it becomes, and I made a video on this, I said, you know what? And I did this a couple of times, especially after 10. Nobody is going to do this for me, and that's the message I'm going to give. Nobody is going to do this for you. People will help you, people will support you, but even if you didn't have any of that, in all of it, you have to have a standalone spirit. You have to be able to stand for your own life and say, no, I was sick once, but I'm not sick anymore. Or some people suffer with depression. I have my days. I have my days. I struggle sometimes to move towards another video about this because, hey, it's not the most popular subject, right? And I appreciate all the likes and all the views I get. I did a never give up video, almost 500,000 views. I never thought I would get that many views on this because suicide's not popular. It's not the fun thing on TikTok and all that, but people know it's an important subject. And it's so important that we end the stigma. And, I'm just so tired of hearing people saying it's the chicken way out and all this. They don't understand the pain. They don't understand clinical depression. They don't understand, and then we lose our loved ones, or you've lost a loved one, and it breaks my heart every time I read about someone that has taken their life. And I wish I could help everybody, but I only can do what I can do. And I hope one word or one sentence I'm giving you is helping you. Make that short list. Go get some help. Yeah, people are against some of the medical community, but they're not all that bad. You got to have a combination of medicine to keep you safe if that's the problem, because you need to stay safe physically, eating well, sleeping well, short listed, stay steady, just try to have some serenity in your life, take walks, and just breathe and breathe about who you are and what you're about and the mission that you have in life. We all have a mission. Did I think I was going to have this kind of mission in my life? I was 27 years old. I had a truck accident, a tractor trailer, and I wasn't suicidal then at all. It didn't happen until I was 39 years old for the first time in my life. But I was driving long haul and I was running the road and never had a scratch for 7 years. I fell asleep at the wheel. I hit a bridge abutment at 70 miles an hour. So I guess I'm here for a reason, I guess, because I never thought it would develop into now life and real estate and two marriages and businesses. And here I am talking about suicide. But we all have to find that mission, and I feel it in my heart, and my heart breaks when somebody has lost to suicide. And my mission is to reduce the suicide rate and to tell someone that you're listening that if you're in danger to call 911 or reach out to the helplines. September is Suicide Awareness Prevention Month, World Suicide Day, Suicide Prevention Week. It's all good, but for this warrior, it's every day, all night, every month, every year. I do a real estate business still, and I make a living off that. I self fund. This is my passion. I don't look to make money or anything like that. I mean, I do speaking, and I go on video Zoom now, and I've done speaking engagements, and I try to inspire the veterans too. No one could say in their life what the veterans going through if you haven't went through it. So I'm not going to say I can compare that suffering, but it's universal. Suicide is an unbiased robber of life, and it's universal no matter what suffering we're going through. In wartime for people that have been in war and the trauma that they suffer, and just the traumas in life, and life is tough. Life is not easy. We have to muster up courage and determination, hope, faith, whatever it takes. I only had a very little bit left in my life, especially after my stepdaughter got hurt like that. But I grabbed onto just a little hope and courage, and I said, I'm going for it in 16. And here I am today doing what I can to help people. So, I want you to really reach out for help. It's so important, especially you men. You need to reach out for help. And if you can help somebody, if this video has helped you, You can like, share on my YouTube. Please subscribe. It passes the word along. And I have a public page, Dan Pelly, Pelly, Dan Pelly, Suicide Warrior, Instagram, Snapchat, Tumblr, Pinterest. Um, I think I'm on every social media site I can put the word out about suicide prevention. But I think it's important that you share with people that are suffering. I mean, some people don't want to lay, lay this on other people, like to say, hey, I got somebody that has been through suicide, because they don't want to think they're going to trigger them, but they know they're suffering, but they're not giving them any help. But the best thing to do, and I always found this to be true now, is when in doubt, just take action for that person. Walk right up to them and say, I care about you. I love you. You're my brother, you're my sister, you're my kid, whatever it is. What can I do to help you? I know you're suffering with depression. Are you thinking about killing yourself? Ask them. Ask them, because don't let them suffer in their room in isolation and silence. Silence kills, because they don't want to reach out. So reach out for help. Do what you have to do to help yourself. Okay? So I'm going to leave you with my Buddhist prayer that I leave with on every video, for your good health, your protection, your wisdom, your compassion, your courage, your determination, your mission, your happiness, your family, and your good fortune, and total victory. I'm Dan Pelly, inspirational speaker. Subscribe, and join one of my pages. Pass the word along. Let's reduce this suicide rate together. We can all do this together. We need to come together for our loved ones and for the people that we see that are suffering, to get them some help. So with that said, I wish you all the best, and keep moving. I'll see you on the next video. Thanks for watching.